Story 1. So my dad had this idea to get more work out of us by making us compete for the title of his favorite. The rules were simple. Whoever did something good enough was the favorite until someone else did something better. There was some kind of ill-defined benefit to being the favorite that he hadn't decided on yet. One day he messed up his company website because he was experimenting in the production environment. He asked for my help, but he didn't let me touch anything. Instead, he insisted that I stand there and watch him fiddle with the random controls in Drupal. He was afraid of reading logs, so he hoped to stumble across the right setting. It took a few hours and then he went to the bathroom. That's when I checked the logs and fixed the problem. I saved him time, probably saved him money, and possibly saved his job. As a result, I was named the favorite. But my sister mowed the lawn and became the new favorite just 10 minutes later. It wasn't a big deal, though. The only benefit for being the favorite for my brother and I was that he wouldn't insult you for not being the favorite. When I was the favorite, he still made fun of me for being at his beck and call. My sister got more hugs and pats in the back when she was the favorite, but fewer when she wasn't. Eventually, we all agreed that the whole competition was stupid and decided not to do anything special for him. He got angry that we weren't climbing over each other to do him favors. At first, he lowered the bar for good deeds, so we just stopped doing anything for him at all. Then he announced that my sister was the favorite again because I didn't buy him a soda and he wanted me to defend my title. Nobody cared, and he got angry about that too. He tried to bring the competition back, but it didn't work. Lesson learned. My sister is, and always has been, the real favorite. If you want people to compete, there needs to be something they all want to compete for. Also, there's something to be said about collusion or collective bargaining. In any case, apes together are strong. Man, that's one manipulative dad. But at least his kids learned how to stick together. They probably went on strike against him after that. Story 2. Growing up, my stepbrother was clearly my stepmother's favorite child. He could pretty much get away with anything. I'm sure she's never actually scolded him for anything, and he was well aware of this. The most obvious example of this was when the nanny software on his computer caught him searching for adult content. Immediately, my stepmother came after me, accusing me of using his computer to search for explicit stuff. Yeah, my dad also preferred my stepbrother over my stepsister, but she was rarely around. She lived with her dad full-time because it was much closer to her school. It was like an hour's commute every day from our house to the school my step-siblings attended, so it never really came up. My dad respected my stepmother's bias, but he also told me there wasn't much she could do about it, and she wasn't treating me harshly either. If something wasn't my fault, the accusation wouldn't stick, and I didn't receive particularly disciplinary action when I did make a mistake. It's just that my brother seemed to avoid getting schooled for everything. The joke's on them, though. Now I'm my stepmother's favorite because I'm the only one of her children who isn't a troublemaker. Story 3. In first grade, I had a run-in with a couple of bullies, led by a kid named Kyle. One day, Kyle and his two buddies cornered me, pinned my arms, and were about to throw punches when a teacher on duty blew her whistle. She called out the three boys for causing a scene with their aggressive behavior, but by three boys, she meant Kyle's pals and me, who was lying on the ground near the other two. She sent all three of us to the principal's office and banned us from playing during breaks for 3 weeks. Even in the office, Kyle's friends vouched for my innocence and claimed that Kyle was the one who started it, and that all three of them were ganging up on me. They even told the teacher that they were the ones about to charge me. Her response was, "No, Kyle was the only one not doing anything. I heard Mike yelling, egging y'all on." Even the boys confessed that all I was shouting was, "Please, no." I was completely innocent, but the principal wouldn't hear it. She made me feel even worse about it, saying, "You're the first problem students this school has had since we started that Student of the Month program." On my first day sitting out from recess, I stared at the ground on the verge of tears. The teacher made me watch the other kids play as a punishment. I deserved to watch the other kids having fun. Every day, Kyle would sprint by and throw sand in my face, with the teacher just a few feet away, turning her head away as she smirked. Kyle, the kid who never got in trouble, happened to be the son of the teacher's best friend, who, by the way, was the local school bus driver. She had backed into her horse trailer earlier that year, tearing it up pretty badly, and tried to avoid taking any responsibility for it. She blamed us, saying, "We put it in her way." But the truth was she was just being lazy. The previous bus driver would drive a bit further up the road, maybe 400 feet, and then turn around. She would pick up my sister and me, then put the bus in reverse, backing into a small ditch in our front yard where we parked our cars and trailer. To make matters worse, she never really paid much attention when backing up. She assigned a couple of kids to watch for her. I guess they thought it would be funny and didn't alert her that she was about to make a big mistake. That kid Kyle had some serious issues. I remember hearing about a time he tried to harm his older brother. Their family had a boombox in the bathroom that they used to play music while showering or bathing. One day, Kyle burst into the bathroom and tossed the boombox into the bath where his older brother was. Fortunately, it yanked the cord out of the wall, so nothing more came of it. There were other incidents, but I don't remember all the details. Dang, this is so messed up. It's like a villain's backstory arc. Story 4. My younger brother got everything he asked for. Brand new gadgets, the latest phones, a driver's license, and a shiny new car. He had it all. Meanwhile, I was wearing hand-me-downs, had an old-school Nokia 3310, this was around when Apple launched the first iPhone, and had to work after school to save up for my license, cover school trip expenses, and buy a PC for school. To this day, my parents still deny favoring him. Yeah, actually, my younger brother and younger sister got everything they needed, including driver's ed and cars when they reached the right age. They were also allowed to pursue whatever extracurricular activities they wanted. My little sister always got the green light for class trips. As for me, I was pretty much never allowed to do anything. I spent most of my time on my computer, which I built myself with the money I saved from my grandparents. My teeth are in bad shape and crooked because I was never put in braces when I needed them. Unlike my baby sister, no one got me a cell phone until I had a job. And even then, I had to foot the bill. To this day, I don't think my parents even have a picture of me in their house that's less than a decade old. I don't get invited to family events or trips. My dad sent me an animated GIF on Facebook, privately, to wish me a happy birthday a few days ago. He won't ever publicly acknowledge my existence. Since I don't have any children, I sometimes feel like nobody cares or has ever cared. I try to be a good son and act like it doesn't bother me. I go out of my way to do nice things for my parents, but they often go unacknowledged. Not long ago, I bought them tickets to see their favorite comedian when they came to our city. One of them posted on Facebook about attending the show, but didn't mention who gave them the tickets or that they were a gift. Honestly, it feels like the only people in my family who've ever really cared about me were my grandparents. My grandpa passed away in 2018. My grandma's still around, but due to the current situation, I haven't seen her in like a month. Story 5. Back in elementary school, 3 of my classmates, Kim, Kelly, and Christy, had mothers who organized all the class parties. Every Easter, we had an egg hunt. And the 3 girls who found the most eggs won chocolate bunnies. Our class had about 30 kids, and each of us had to bring in 3 eggs to hide. The teacher would pull down the window shade so we couldn't see where their moms hid the eggs in the playground. Year after year, from kindergarten through 6th grade, the 3 girls somehow found the most eggs, often up to a dozen each. The rest of us usually only found 1 or 2, and some of us never found any. The girls eventually admitted that their moms had been secretly hiding piles of eggs behind certain trees near their doors, even though they told us that the eggs could be anywhere in the playground. One year, a boy found an egg that would have put him in the running for a chocolate bunny, but their moms told him it didn't count because they didn't remember hiding it. So the bunny went to Christy. Wow, those helicopter parents really turn their kids into the Powerpuff Girls. They're probably going to get a toothache for that. Do these cringy stories make you feel like favoritism needs to stop now? Then hit the like button and subscribe to my channel now. Story 6. When I was younger, my sisters and I had a nanny because my dad worked all the time and didn't feel comfortable leaving us alone. However, the nanny didn't like me, and she didn't try to hide it. She would ignore me, take my sisters out without me, and even tell me I couldn't be around or talk to my sisters. I recently found out that the nanny used to take my sisters aside and try to get them to badmouth me and make them think I was terrible. But my sisters had no problem with me. It was only the nanny trying to make them dislike me. She managed to separate me from my family and constantly talk trash about me, and if my sisters defended me, she would get angry at them. But my sisters were well taken care of and loved, and I don't like her at all. My sisters and I tried to tell our dad that Nanny had something against us, but he thought we were overreacting. When he confronted the nanny, she lied through her teeth, making up stories about us to make us look bad. She was incredibly manipulative. So I stopped trying to talk to my dad about the nanny, and when my sisters brought it up, I stayed quiet, thinking it wouldn't change anything. But when I went into treatment for an eating disorder and spilled everything to my dad, explaining how the nanny pushed it on me with isolation and negative comments, he fired her instantly. The nanny still tries to talk to my sisters and gives me dirty looks in public, but I'm lucky that my sisters were always on my side. My dad finally saw what was really happening. Story 7. When I was in my teens, my younger sister got a new cell phone. I'd never had a phone, and I still don't have one at the time. During college, I had to juggle 3 jobs just to make ends meet. While my parents covered my sister's tuition, rent, and bills, they even bought her a new car. I spent my college years working hard and taking public transportation, while my sister was out partying and going on road trips with her fancy new car. When I finally graduated from college, I didn't receive anything. But my sister got a new MacBook, which was stolen a few months later because she carelessly left it in her unlocked car. Growing up, my mother always told my sister that she loved her unconditionally. As for me, my mother only said it once, and it was in the context of, I love you, but I don't really like you. I have many other stories like these, and just so you know, I no longer have any contact with my parents or my sister. They also added a concluding sentence to summarize your main point and leave the reader with something to think about. I have shared these stories to show the extent of my parents' favoritism towards my sister. It has been a painful experience, but I am grateful to have finally broken free from their toxic influence. Ugh, that sister sounds like a real-life Veruca Salt. Getting out of there was definitely the best move. Story 8. Years ago, my mom and dad updated their will. They called me to say, we just wanted to let you know that we've changed our will, and you'll be receiving a smaller share of our estate. Okay, I said. I didn't need to know that, and honestly, I wouldn't have cared. Without even asking why, Mom continued, you seem to be doing well, and your brother works so hard, he's going to need it more. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. My brother was, and continues to be, a top exclusive at a major corporation in a major city with $2 million homes. I am now twice divorced, living in an apartment, and have relocated for a full-time job 3 states away. Funnily enough, Mom hasn't called to tell me that she's changed her will again, and this is why I forget Mother's Day. Story 9. My mom told my brother a really boring family secret, and he told me. I mentioned it to her and she got angry and said he shouldn't be telling other people about it, since it's just for family. I had to remind her that I was also a member of the family, and our middle school gym teacher was a dirtbag to anyone who wasn't either a jock or a girl. So me and the boys always got the short end of the stick when it came to being put on teams for activities, because a relay race between the kids who run track and the kids who have the stamina of a level 1 RPG character is a fair race apparently. Story 10. My grandma always yelled at my cousins, but she always pampered and bragged about me to others. She didn't even try to hide her favoritism, and I hated it when that happened. Even as a child, I recognized and despised it. Obviously, my relationship with my cousins isn't good to this day. Getting special treatment when you don't want it is awkward. It's not fun having someone tell everyone to look up to you as a shining example of goodness when you're trying to think of a way to tone it down because you know you're not going to have any friends after an authority figure tells everyone to be more like you. Bro, I feel that. It's like being crowned the ceremonial emperor, but with everyone else sharpening their knives behind your back. Not fun at all. Story 11. When I was a kid, my stepbrother and I were the same age. One day he asked our stepmom if he could spend the night at a friend's house, and she said yes. I asked her the same question, but she said no. I complained that it was unfair that he got to go, but I didn't, and she grounded me. That was 23 years ago, and I'm still a little salty about it. At the end of my senior year, our school had a senior party with a raffle with a bunch of expensive prizes. Every single parent who helped organize the raffle had a child who won big, and the main organizer's son won the grand prize of $2,500 with a very not suspicious speech of, and of course, the winner of the grand prize is Charlie. Yeah, right. I walked out of there with a $5 gift card to an ice cream shop that had already gone out of business. Story 12. One of my classmates in high school literature class consistently scored higher in essays than I did, even though our essays were on par. I suspected that the teacher was playing favorites, so we decided to write each other's papers to see what happened. Our experiments revealed that no matter who wrote the paper, I always received a lower grade than she did. Story 13. My friend is the middle child, and he had to hustle from a young age. He got a job at 16 to buy his own car, worked full-time through college to pay for his tuition, and had to save up for his down payments and a house all by himself. His parents didn't offer any help, and in fact, when he was at work one day, they packed up all his belongings and dropped him off in his garage with a curt good luck. On the other hand, his sibling didn't have to work in high school or college. Their parents paid for their cars and most of their college tuition. When his older brother bought a house, their parents even offered to help him with the down payment. My friend is doing well now. He's happily married, has a new house and truck, and a good job. He doesn't let his parents bother him too much. Story 14. My nephew's school recently had 2 students who won a contest on their own. They were thrilled to have the opportunity to meet the Prime Minister and showcase their work. However, at the last minute, the principal insisted on adding his daughter to the team. This is a perfect example of why principals' kids shouldn't attend the same school as their parents. On a more cynical note, private holes are illegal in my town, but for some reason, this law doesn't apply to my local Benihana. I thought this was strange, but then I learned that the manager of my local Benihana has made large donations to our police department. Maybe I'm just being cynical, but that doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. Story 15. My French teacher would openly play favorites with her students, giving extra credit to the one she liked just for showing up, and one year a kid was placed in the top class even though his grades were terrible. He happened to be the relative of the school board chairman. When I was in high school, my dad had a very public affair, and my mom kicked him out of the house. A few days later, he sent an email to the whole family begging to be let back in. He wrote a few sentences to my brother and me, saying that he missed us, but he wrote an entire paragraph to my sister, starting with, "I've always had the best connection with you out of all my children." I've since cut him off completely, but it still stings a little, even 7 years later. What did I tell you guys? Nepotism is real. Even Naruto's Hokage family tree is proof of that. Story 16. One teacher had a student named Henrique whom she treated like the apple of her eye. She would let him stay after school while they had snacks together, drive him home, let him sit next to her in class. He barely sat at his desk anymore, and even visit his house once. Thankfully, Henrique wasn't as much of a scumbag as I thought he was when we went to high school together, and I calmed down a bit about the situation. 2 years later, Henrique revealed that his mom and his teacher were friends, and that's when it all clicked for me. Oh, now it makes sense, I said. Middle school is messed up. Story 17. In middle school, the teacher's son was in her class, and he was relentlessly bullying one of my friends, being all up in his face, throwing mud and packed ice cream at him outside. Whenever my friend tried to get him off or yelled for him to go away, the teacher would say, "Indoor voices, please," and "Boys will be boys." Eventually, my friend had enough, picked up the other kid, and gave him a concussion by throwing him on the ground. He was suspended. And then the teacher brought in a speaker to talk about bullying in school. So, being the wise guy that I was, I raised my hand and asked, "What are we supposed to do when the bully is the teacher's kid and she doesn't see the problem?" And looked right back at her. My friend was back in school the next week. Story 18. I'm a woman, and I worked my way up from a temp to downstream operator in just 9 months. I applied for a promotion to the next position, which everyone knew I deserved. Another person, a man on another shift in the exact same position as me, also applied for the position. Just before he applied, he operated the KUKA robot with a touchscreen after an operations failure. This is supposed to be a direct call to maintenance, and if an operator tries to fix it themselves, it's grounds for immediate termination. In doing so, he caused the robot to move backwards and break through a cement wall, causing $17,000 in damage and shutting it down for a week while we waited for new parts. He got the promotion, and I quit in protest. He was fired not long after for bringing his weapons to work to show off to people. Well, if I was their boss, I might promote that guy too, but to a BattleBots operator. Those guys are so good at destroying their own robots. If you stuck with me till the end of this video, then I bet you want to watch What Has Become So Normal It Isn't Considered Wrong Anymore. Story 1 is hilarious. Don't miss it.